And it looks like we are live. Good evening, everyone. Let's take a few seconds out to make sure everything's working on my end the way I would like it to be. Give me just a few seconds while we do that. Everything's working. Okay, it seems like at least the video and audio are working fine on the YouTube feed. Now let us make sure we actually get it right when we share our video. Give me a second here. Full size the screen here. Share my screen. Make sure I share the audio. We want to share screen, entire screen, screen 2 in this case, which won't mean anything to you guys. And of course, we should now all right, we should now be nearly ready. Give me just a second. Let's play a few seconds of audio and make sure we have sound.
Give a disclaimer and say that I did not intend for this.
Okay, looks like we have sound, but we have it on my end? Working on my entire, and of course we should now be of audio.
Give a disclaimer and say that I did not.
All right, we have sound on my end. With that being said, we can now get into tonight's Faulty Logic Fridays. Now, I haven't done one of these for a while, and I think for the most part, I probably should stop doing them and get back to what this channel is supposed to be about. But YouTube being what it is, I continue to need to feed it content in order to keep my channel active and keep it growing. I missed a couple of weeks just because I was busy and because I was, well, just exhausted. However, this week I've had a little chance to rest, and I thought maybe we could find something tonight. And I found someone who thinks they have used ChatGPT to come up with a mathematical proof of God. Now, one of the reasons I think people like to come up with mathematical proofs of God is because that in math proofs are absolute. Now, I am sure neither him nor I are going to prove anything about God. What I suspect is going to happen here is this person is going to assume that ChatGPT is proving their point, rather than ChatGPT is just coming up with responses based on the bias that was inserted into his text, which is so common with many of these things. But before we get into this video from someone named, what is this guy's name? Give me just a second here. Bagbemi? Okay, I have no idea how to pronounce that one, so please forgive me. I hope that's an acronym, but it's just a name that sounds incredibly bad in English. So we're just going to refer to him as that guy, rather than just worry about what his actual name is. So let us see what he has to say, and I apologize for not having watched this beforehand because, well, this was chosen at the last minute.
Whatsoever. I was asking ChatGPT some completely different questions, and I just happened to get onto this journey. What ChatGPT said will completely confuse you. As in, is this an AI? Are you sure this is
No, it won't.
an AI that's saying this stuff? So it was about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I got my verse of the day, which is my Bible app. It sends me a verse every single day. The verse is 2 Corinthians 5:21. Now that verse says, God made him who had no sin be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Now, as a believer,
that's great. I'm glad you found a Bible verse that was meaning to you that day. I don't care.
In Jesus Christ, I know what that means. I know that Jesus came down, became sin for us. It's a perfect marriage of justice and mercy. For some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason, I want to know what ChatGPT's opinion of it was. Maybe I haven't spoken to my friends.
ChatGPT does not have an opinion of religious figures because ChatGPT is just a large language model. It's just code doing what code's designed to do.
In a couple of days, maybe I just wanted something to chat to. I don't know. Explanation. This verse summarizes the core of the gospel, the great exchange between Christ and believers. Let's break it.
Oh, by the way, there are some thunderstorms going on in the background out here. It should be okay. I have had a rather hectic few weeks weather-wise, and of course, I've gone through 3 tornado warnings this year, but fortunately nothing happened where I was. Although it does look like somewhere near where I was, And near, I mean in the same county, there might have been a minor tornado that went through a small town and damaged a barn.
Down, God made him who had sin. This refers to Jesus Christ, who lived a sinless life. Hebrews 4:15. He was the only human to be completely righteous and without fault before God. To be sin for us, it explains to be sin for us. You can read it there, pause it, and then you can read so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. You can pause it here if you want to read that as well. So this is ChatGPT explaining to me the scripture and then saying that the big picture is that the verse highlights substitutionary atonement.
Great, you asked ChatGPT what scripture meant. Can you please get to the point?
I hope I said that right, really do. Jesus took our sin and we receive his righteousness. It's not an exchange of moral character, but a legal and spiritual declaration. Jesus was treated as a sinner so that we could be treated as righteous before God. This is the heart of salvation. Would you like a deeper look at how this connects to other passages? Now, I like how the Bible has scriptures that connect to other scriptures. I really like that about the Bible. I think it adds to its validity and I wanted to know more.
And I think sometimes those connections are nothing more than apophenia. Sometimes they exist, but sometimes it's humans looking for patterns where none actually exist.
Yes, please. If you're not saying please and thank you to ChatGPT, I don't know for you, man. Sure, let's connect
ChatGPT does not have feelings. I do say thank you to Siri, and Siri will tell me she appreciates it. But that's just what she's programmed to do, just like she's programmed to basically figure out when I'm getting annoyed and let me know I'm getting annoyed, but I've only done that once. And that's mostly because I kept trying to correct her on something and she kept getting it wrong.
Corinthians 5:21 to other passages that explain this great exchange in more detail. So it goes on to, I will just just go through, well, not go through, I'll just scroll through it. So if you want to read it and pause, at any given point, you can pause. I'm just doing it slowly for you, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to be nice. There we go. Okay, so you can see, yeah? What I really want to focus on, though, is, if I go to the top, the first scripture that is stated here is from the Old Testament, Isaiah, right? That's from the Old Testament. Every other scripture that is stated is from the New Testament. But the fact that the first one was from the Old Testament really got me interested. I was like, I've heard that there are so many scriptures that link to Jesus' arrival. And I know some of them, but I don't know how many that there are, okay? Yeah, full disclosure, I don't remember the whole Bible, okay? Jeez. But I'm thinking to myself, like, how many of these prophecies are actually in the Old Testament, and does ChatGPT know an exact number, or is it just like, you know what I mean? Is it just going to say a lot, or is it going to say none at all because it's an AI and it's not religious? So I ask it, if I just scroll down. That's the summary. 2 Corinthians 5:21 teaches that Jesus.
What it's going to answer with will depend on what's in its training data. Come on, this isn't that hard to get.
Took the punishment for our sin, and in exchange we received his righteousness. This is the foundation.
Can you please stop pretending that AI is somehow human? It's not. ChatGPT is just a program. It's a really neat program, but it's a program.
Of the gospel. Salvation is not about our goodness, but about Christ's perfect work on our part. So now I go on to say, how many scriptures in the Old Testament foretell Jesus' arrival?
Again, get to the point.
Right? How many? Give me a number. Okay. There are over 300. Just process that for a second. Just pause. Process for a second. Okay? Because 300 prophecies in the Old Testament that foretell the coming of Jesus. And it's not done. These prophecies cover his birth, his life, death, and resurrection. Below are some key examples. It literally gives me examples. Okay, let's get into this. Let's go. Prophecies about Jesus' birth. Born of a woman. Genesis 3:15. The first prophecy.
You do realize that we can get this from any apologist anywhere. I want to get to the point where you're misunderstanding how ChatGPT is telling you that God exists. Can we get there, please?
of a coming savior who will crush the serpent's head. Born of a virgin, Isaiah 7:14. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son and will call him Emmanuel. Jesus was called Emmanuel at birth. Born in Bethlehem, but you, Bethlehem though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, a descendant of Abraham, a descendant of David. Prophecies about Jesus' ministry. A prophet like Moses. Moses predicted God would send another prophet like him, which he did. Would be called God, who he is. Would heal and do miracles, which he did. Would teach in parables, which he did. And then it goes on to prophecies about Jesus' suffering and death. Betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. Zechariah 11:12-13. The amount of money that he was betrayed for was prophesied. Silent before his accusers, which he was. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. Pierced hands and feet, crucified with criminals, given vinegar to drink, no broken bones. These are all things that happened. These are all depictions of Jesus' death, right there in the New Testament. You can go read it. You keep going. Prophecies about Jesus' resurrection and reign, resurrected. You will not abandon me to the realm of the dead, nor will you let your faithful ones see decay. Ascended into heaven, which he did. Seated at God's right hand, which he is. And it goes on to give a summary. The Old Testament is full of prophecies that point directly to Jesus, proving that his coming was part of God's plan from the very beginning. These prophecies...
I would give his name, but it's very weird in English, and it just sounds... If I pronounce it, it sounds like a slur. You can see it on the screen in the bottom there, I hope.
Prophecies were fulfilled in his birth, ministry, death, and resurrection, confirming him as the promised Messiah. Would you like to explore any prophecy in more detail? Now, this is when I started to get...
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I realize I'm just doing this to feed the YouTube algorithm, but come on, get to the point. I've said that like 5 times so far, but I can get this from any Christian channel. This is not why I chose this video.
To the point where I was like, is ChatGPT saying what I think it's saying? Like, is this really happening? But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go deep. I'm gonna go deeper and I'm gonna make ChatGPT double, triple, quadruple down, all right? I'm gonna make you sit on that hill like no undeniable nothing, you get me? All right, let's go. So I asked him, what's the probability that someone could have fulfilled all 300 prophecies in one lifetime, right? Not a leading question in any way. I just want to know Wagwan, you know what I'm saying? What's the probability? Tell me.
That would depend on the likelihood of each prophecy. Were the prophecies made before or after Jesus' death? And were people actively trying to fulfill prophecies in the text? It's not unusual, and Virgil uses this technique in the Aeneid as well, to make things that sound like prophecies about, in this case, Augustus, because he's writing at Augustus's time, and he knows certain things are going to come to pass. It is also possible that the gospel authors were trying to make Jesus fit these prophecies. But what we're going to see here is essentially an argument from scary numbers.
Number again, the probability of one person fulfilling all 300 plus Old Testament prophecies about the Messiah by mere chance is astronomically low, essentially impossible.
This is something people often misunderstand about statistics, where something is essentially impossible, meaning it's so close to zero that you will probably never see it, and actually zero, which means it's impossible. You can roll all 6s on 256 six-sided dice. It's a relatively low probability, but it is possible. You cannot roll a single 7. However, that is actually impossible.
You think I'm done? I am nowhere near done, okay? Mathematical analysis. The man gave me mathematical analysis. Crazy.
Of course it did. That's what you're asking it to do. Why are you acting as if this is something unusual for ChatGPT to do?
Mathematical analysis. All right, let's go. Dr. Peter Stoner, a professor of mathematics and astronomer.
All right, ChatGPT is known to make things up whole cloth, and I don't see if it gave us the university he's at, so let's see if we can find him after a few quick seconds of Googling. Okay, so yes, there was a professor of mathematics named Peter Stoner who lived from 1888 and died in 1980, who was a Christian writer and chairman of the departments of mathematics and astronomy at Pasadena City College until 1953. So that tells us something about his bias already that you didn't even bother to check, did you?
Calculated the probability of just 8 specific prophecies being fulfilled by one person randomly. His result, 1 in 10 to the 17. I love that ChatGPT felt the need to actually put 1 followed by 17 zeros, because like, I've read your chats, you know, I know our conversations between each other, and you need this explaining to you. Do you know how huge of a...
Why do I need this explained to me? I think you need to have explained to you what ChatGPTs actually do and why this isn't impressive. This is just something some apologist is spitting out.
number that is?
And ChatGPT regurgitated it, garbled it, and spit out something similar to something many different apologists who might have had degrees in mathematics have said.
Let me help you visualize it, or let me not help you, let ChatGPT will help you visualize it. To visualize this...
Oh good, did it do a chart using Matplotlib?
Even tries to help me. Oh my goodness. Imagine covering the entire state of Texas with silver dollars 2 feet deep. Now, mark one of those coins, blindfold someone, and let them walk across Texas. The chance that they would pick the marked coin on the first try is 1 in 10 to the 17. The same odds as fulfilling just 8 prophecies. And I'll get to how he came up with those probabilities and, you know, what those probabilities even mean later on, okay?
I don't think you know what those probabilities mean, but that's okay. Probability is often counterintuitive.
No, I'm saying, don't worry. I said I went deep, all right? Now, if we extend this...
No, you just asked a chatbot and it's confirming your biases. Come on.
To 48 prophecies, Stoner estimated the probability as 1 in 10 to the 157. A number so large it's beyond comprehension. I tried. ChatGPT's right.
You know, my cat's antics have been more entertaining than you misunderstanding how large language models work. Perhaps I should just stream her instead. I'd probably get more viewers.
Ain't really that easy. And since Jesus fulfilled over 300, the probability of fulfilling just 48 is 10 to the 157. And Jesus fulfilled over 300. The odds are effectively 0 unless it was by divine nature.
Yes, and you could calculate everything I did yesterday, and you would come up with something that is statistically improbable. Assuming Jesus existed, if he did all of those things, the probabilities that he would do those things after he did them is in fact 1.
This but divine design, okay? That's what it says. I'm trying to read what it says so that no one can say, oh. So it goes on to conclude, the fulfillment of these prophecies by Jesus is not coincidence. It's statistical proof that...
How is it statistical proof?
He is the...
Okay, so I see the other issue here. I don't think you know what a proof means in mathematics or computer science. It's statistical evidence according to the person who wrote this. But I think you, like many people, realize that math proofs are absolute, so you're assuming if you can have a mathematical proof of God, that means that God exists, and we have to accept that.
Messiah? What? This is ChatGPT! What the flip? Would you like a breakdown of some of the prophecies that were mathematically analyzed?
I'm so glad you're easily impressed by large language models, but most of the world has moved on. We know what they can do, we know what they can't do, and we have a lot of people misusing them. Apparently even to miscalculate tariffs.
Yes, please. Okay. I haven't said anything. I haven't, tried to pull it in any direction or.
Absolutely incorrect. You seem to have forgotten your own implicit biases in these questions, which led ChatGPT to answer in a religious manner.
You know what I mean? Dr. Peter Stoner and his team analyzed several Old Testament prophecies and calculated the probabilities of one person fulfilling them by chance. Below are 8 of those prophecies. All
right, can we please stop saying ChatGPT is calculating anything other than what the next word is? Probably a vast oversimplification of it is it's a traveling salesman problem, where you're going through a weighted graph of words that are most likely in a certain context and trying to find the longest path.
Along with their estimated probabilities. Let's go. Born in Bethlehem, we'll just whiz through this, okay? Born in Bethlehem. Prophecy, but you, Bethlehem, fulfillment. Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Probability, 1 in 100,000. We'll get to how he got to that probability later. A messenger, John the Baptist, would prepare the way. Now, John the Baptist lived in the desert.
It's not really hard to calculate the probability that someone would be born in a given town in a given year if you know the number of births that year and the number of people born in a given place each year. If you knew my birth year and knew the number of people born in the city I was born in for that year, and divided by the number of births, and divided that by the number of births for that year, you'd get the probability.
If you've read the New Testament, you know about it. John the Baptist lived.
And I realize I said that wrong, but I hope people will get the general gist of it.
In the literal wilderness desert. Yeah, I mean, desert, absolute desert, okay? Probability, 1 in 1,000. Entering Jerusalem on a donkey. Probability, 1 in 100. Betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. Probability, 1 in 1,000.
So that means this happened quite a bit? How many people were betrayed for exactly 30 pieces of silver in the Roman Empire? I always thought 30 was more of a symbolic thing than anything else.
The betrayal money would be used to buy a potter's field. So not only was the exact amount of money that he was going to be betrayed for was prophesied, but what that money was going to then be used for. Come on, man. I mean, how is this not boggling your mind already? But you know what? Maybe it's still a skepticism. Don't worry, I go deep.
The reason it's not causing me to be amazed is because I know how LLMs work and you apparently don't.
Go deep. Let's go. Let's keep going. The betrayal money would be used to buy a potter's field. Probability, 1 in 100,000. Silent before his accusers. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. Isaiah 53:7. Probability, 1 in 1,000.
I'm guessing that ChatGPT just wholly made up a lot of these numbers, because I can't believe that there has been any pressing need for people to calculate Potter's Field. And honestly, how long I've been going, I'm going to speed this up. I honestly should have done the other video I had planned, but I need to finish that and edit it. I also need to get back to doing more educational content, but... Alright, here we are. Playback speed is here. Let's speed them up a bit.
And feet pierced. Probability 1 in 10,000. Actually, I just got this. Fulfillment, Jesus was crucified. A method not even invented when this was written. Tell me it's not wrong.
I don't even think that's true.
Cast lots for his clothing. Probability 1 in 100. Now, total probability for all of these 8 prophecies, when you multiply these probabilities together, 10 to all of the probabilities.
Okay, that part is correct.
There. This means the chance of one person fulfilling just these 8 prophecies is 1 in 100 quadrillion. 1 in 100 quadrillion. But ChatGPT goes on, expanding to 48 prophecies. Dr. Stoner later extended this to 48 prophecies, and the probability dropped.
Does ChatGPT ever give you where Dr. Stoner said all this? Because that would be great, and we could go look it up.
To 1 in...
And we could also figure out where he's getting these numbers, because apologists have been known to make up numbers.
10 to the 157, a number so large it's practically impossible. Since Jesus fulfilled over 300, by the way, that's just extended to 48 prophecies. The probability dropped to 1 in 10 to the 150.
All right, you really need to not worry about it so much. You need to get to the final point here, and then just tell us what you think is going on. You've meandered through this a little too much. You've gone through your daily Bible verse, which fine, great. I mean, if you found that Bible verse meaningful, I'm not going to stop you. But I think it's time for us to skip ahead and get closer to the end of this video. So let's see if he actually gets to a point.
Impossible prophecies, his claim to be the Son of God in John 10:30 and John 14:6 is true. Like, what the? Like, bruh! And it still goes on to say, God's plan was intentional. The fulfillment of prophecy proves that Jesus' coming was part of God's divine plan from the beginning. If you're still not convinced, look at this next line. Faith in Jesus is based on evidence. Christianity isn't just blind faith. It's supported by history, logic, and probability. Christianity is not just blind faith. It's based on evidence. Yeah, it is, boy, you know.
You know, this is also something they got wrong in Apple TV's Foundation, where there's a quote in the episode Barbarian at the Gates said to Salvor Hardin, where the character is told repeated luck is never luck. It's more accurate to say repeated luck is less likely to be luck the more often it goes on. But honestly, I think you're just a little too easily impressed. And you don't really understand how ChatGPT works, which is why you think this whole probability thing they're playing is impressive. Honestly, this whole big numbers, therefore God, really doesn't work all that well. If we have an infinite universe where any possible thing can play out, the probability that anything that is possible to happen, given enough time, is essentially 1.
Wait, let's go. So I literally go on to say, so are you saying God is real? I'm literally like, are you really just saying this? Like, I know it, but are you really like, seriously? Yes. I don't, the overwhelming evidence. Man said overwhelming. What the flip? Overwhelming even for ChatGPT. The overwhelming evidence from...
Oh my gosh. You took 20 minutes to get to that point. I should have been working on my homework. Honestly, it would have been a better use of my time to continue that machine learning assignment and trying to correct people like you from assuming that ChatGPT is some sort of fact-checking or proof tool. It is not. It is designed to come up with human-sounding text, and I'm just going to call you Mr. Eyeballs. That is where you went wrong. In the future, please make sure when using these tools, you understand that what you get out of it depends on the bias you feed it, either intentionally or unintentionally, because that's the way these things work. Not to mention, it is well known that the training data sets can often introduce cultural and I can't pronounce systemic biases into these results. This is one of the reasons why data justice is a growing concern. So, yeah, no, I'm sorry, what you did was not impressive. This doesn't prove anything other than you don't know how ChatGPT works, and you're easily impressed by how cool it is that we have a program that can spit out human-sounding text. I think it's pretty cool too, or at least I did when we first did it, but it's a relatively commonplace thing now. And it's time for you to learn the basis of how this thing works so you don't fall for this stuff. All right, that's it for this video, everyone. I'm glad he's excited about this, and I'm glad he thinks he's found his proof, but I'm going to have to say he needs to learn how to use these programs properly, learn what they can do, and learn what they're not good at. Let me stop sharing my screen. All right, I don't know how it's been for everyone else, but it's been a hectic week here. I hope you've been safer. I hope I don't experience any more tornado warnings I have to actually hide from this year, even though it is April, and unfortunately, I do live in a place that gets them. Not as common as some other places do, but we do get them here. And go out and write some code. Oh, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe.